huge shout-out. 60 farmers and the next generation of primary producers I can see up in the pram in the gallery here representing thousands that could not actually take the time off property to come up. So thank you. We hear you and we know that you are making your presence felt right across the parliament today.
This issue is not limited to Victoria and New South Wales. I have also received letters from regional Queenslanders objecting to power lines going through the Barumba National Park and the catastrophic effects that such lines will have on wildlife and plant life.
And too many decisions are being made about our so-called energy transition from our large capital cities who have no actual on-the-ground knowledge of how their decisions impact not just people but the local environment too.
And I want to note the importance of what you're doing today, because sometimes people listen.
The big hoax is that net zero was going to be net zero pain. The reality is certain people, certain industries are going to do much more of the heavy lifting than others in Australia.
If we were talking about covering an island like Tonga in something, there'd be outrage. People looking into it, calls for the Australian government. But we are talking about stage 1 and 2 of this transmission line. 10,000 kilometres, 77,000 hectares is the size of Tonga. It is the size of Singapore, it is the size of Bahrain. But because it's on our land, because it's these poor people up in the chamber, Acting Deputy President, we don't care. We don't care about our own backyard. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to investigate it. We don't want to look at the options. We're just going to tell them to do the right thing and shut up. This is not why this place is here. That is not why we should be here. We aren't talking about legislation that will change something. We're talking about an inquiry to hear something.
People on the ground deserve this inquiry today. It should have been done yesterday before we made some of these decisions, but it needs to be done as soon as possible.
But for the 9 million of us who do not live in capital cities, we deserve to have the interests of our communities actually investigated by this place. And for the 4th time, we come to the Senate and we say, please hear us. We're on the renewable journey. We want sustainable communities and a sustainable future. Why don't you just let us have the conversation and let people come and put their views forward?
I also want to refer to a report from April this year by former Powerlink COO Simon Bartlett and the Victorian Energy Policy Centre's Bruce Mountain, where they slammed AEMO's VNO West transmission line project that will go across a lot of the areas that these farmers are from. They slammed it as a monumental mistake. Their report says there are other options, including using existing corridors. And these people from these communities would like those other options explored. And that is what we are proposing by this Senate inquiry. We are not saying absolutely no to transmission lines, but we are saying we need to review the processes that have been put in place. We need to understand and we need to let these people be heard so that we can ensure, unlike the first iteration of Transgrid, we can ensure that best practice is followed. The minister refused to meet with these farmers today. Shame on the minister. We are saying let the Senate chamber listen to the concerns of the communities, the concerns of the people who are going to be impacted, the people who are going to bear the burden and the brunt.
Because you can sneer on that other side, but you know what is actually happening? You are purchasing land. You are absolutely not giving landholders the right to appeal. There is not fair consultation or compensation. That is actually what's happening.
And we see the price of copper going through the roof and a worldwide shortage of copper, but somehow we're going to miraculously crisscross copper right across this country.
We have heard you. We have seen you. We will fight for you. And if they shut this down today, if they do not vote for this tomorrow, We will be back. We won't go away. We will stay here. And business of the Senate on Tuesday will be known as Transmission Tuesday until
Senator
this
Cadell,
passes.
you will be in continuation. Order in the gallery. Order in the gallery.